everyone, my name is Lauren and I'm a counsellor at the City of Glasgow College. As part of our Coping in COVID series, I have my colleague Robert, who's the Student Engagement Officer here today to talk about procrastination and productivity, which is obviously really important anytime when you're at college, but also I think even more important when we're kind of all working from home and we're not in the college at the moment. There's a lot more distraction, there's a lot more boundary issues around college life and home life. So that's why I think it's really important for us to have a talk about this today.
Perfect. Thank you so much for the opportunity to come and speak to you and also our students, Lauren. Yeah, I totally agree with the introduction there, that it is really challenging, that we're working from home, we're studying from home, we're living in home, so try to find the space, the time, the energy and the motivation to prioritise our workload can be quite difficult. So the topic that we'll speak about is procrastination, and as I said, I think everybody can be guilty of procrastinating.
Absolutely.
It's one of the things that we can use. It's a guilty pleasure for some people, but for other people it can cause extreme, it can be due to not feeling confident in doing certain tasks, so it can cause real anxiety and problems with people's mental health and things. So for me, the main challenge about procrastination is learning what it is you're procrastinating for. So for instance, for me in my own experience, I would do certain things rather than doing the main tasks that I'm meant to be doing. So if I had an assessment that was due to be handed in for college, I would often have things like the ironing board out.
Yeah.
These are tasks that I would never ever engage in normally, but because I knew I had something outstanding and hanging over my head to do, it created a bit of pressure in me. And you often find you divert your attention to the tasks that you can do or distract yourself from. So for me, procrastination is natural. It's important to find out why you're procrastinating from the work that you're meant to be doing. And then just the main thing is to try and get yourself into a space where you can say, right, I'm going to get started on the tasks. Yeah. First and foremost, working from home and studying from home can be quite challenging. Finding an environment and a setting that suits you. Maybe your house could be overcrowded with certain family members, or and you don't have the space. So try and set some time to get yourself into an area where you can feel comfortable and you can focus on the work that you've got to do. I always think that for me, what helps me is to get myself a task list. So if I list the things that I'm meant to be doing, and then often or not, the one that's the hardest is always at the top, isn't it?
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I always normally work my way from the bottom up to the top, you know. And often, in my experience, we avoiding work. It was always a confidence issue. Yeah, it was always about no feeling that I was good enough, or
those kind of questions around, what if I fail? What if it's not good enough? Those kind of anxious thoughts that come into your head that kind of create that avoidance.
Yep, totally. And it was always about thinking that things had to be perfect. Now, in an ideal world, things, and I know things aren't perfect. Yeah, you learn by making mistakes. So I had to sort of learn that process for myself and say, right, I need to get started. I need to stop worrying about what other people are thinking about me, how I'm going to look or how I'm going to be perceived, and really concentrate more on how I think about me and how I think about other people. And that was a real learning curve for me, because the more you put something off, I always refer to my inner voice as being my inner critic.
Yeah, definitely.
That starts to sort of become louder and starts to say things like, you're never going to do this, you're not got the skills to do this, and all that chat kind of
that inner voice can be a kind of absolute bully, can't it?
Totally. So in order to try and turn the volume down on that inner voice, I would just say the best thing to do is to get started. Do your to-do list, prioritise the work that you need to do, and get started with it. If you've got an assessment and you know that it's due on a certain date, get your diary, set the date for your deadline, work towards that deadline. But also, for me, I would schedule in some time so that you know you're working towards it, and break your tasks down as well. So it could be things like, I'm going to start my introduction today. Then I'm going to start the main body of the assessment. So I'm going to look at the content, my main aims and objectives. And then the following week, I'm going to look at my evaluation and my conclusion, so that you've got a sort of transition. And at the end of each day, what's really important for you to do is to review what you've done, look at what you've done well. Again, that will quieten the inner critic in yourself, and it will also give you the opportunity to reflect and develop self-esteem and good worth, and see that you're progressing in your course and in your studying as well. So that's the sort of things I would do. I would also kind of consider things like time management, looking at putting things out of my reach that can distract me from my learning, particularly my mobile phone.
That's a huge one for everyone, isn't it? That mobile phone.
It seems like when you have got a task to do, you'll just start scrolling. So for me, I start scrolling through football pages and
just distraction.
Distraction. And as soon as the noise goes on my phone, I'm like, I want it. I'm a meerkat. I'm like, where is it? And I need to pull it up.
Any excuse.
Totally. So what I would say to students is, if you have got a designated time that you're studying, put your mobile phone away. It's nothing's got. The world is not going to stop because you don't have your phone. Put it out your reach, and then do your work. Focus your attention on that specific time. And when you've done, say you set an hour to study. When you've done with that hour, reward yourself. So look at it as a sort of stimulus and response. Reward yourself for the work that you've done by then going online and using your social media, whatever it is you're doing. If you're studying as well, I would always say to students to try and create some balance in their life. So healthy habits are things like make sure you've got some nice fruit, good snacks beside you, some water, things that's going to boost your energy rather than making you feel lethargic and sort of lazy, also take some breaks. You are in control of your diary, so you can sort of pause your studying, take some breaks. We can get so caught up in being behind our computers, even as a member of staff. You just become consumed. And one of my colleagues talks about having Zoom fatigue. And I really get that stuff.
Yes, definitely.
And what I've had to do is, for myself, is to remind myself that I can go out, I can walk at lunchtime.
No, we're not prisoners, are we? We're allowed to get some fresh air.
Totally. So integrating some healthy habits into your day-to-day routine. Your routine is so important as well, actually, making sure you're up in time, getting washed. It's dead easy to become complacent because we are in our own house, so the boundary is lowered. You think, I've not got my lesson to 10 o'clock, I've not got my meeting to 10 o'clock, I'll kick about my jammies.
Exactly.
And it becomes a habitual thing. You become quite complacent. And I think that if you're prepared for your day, you start your day off in the right footing by getting up, getting washed, having your breakfast, doing all the sort of things you would normally do, it's going to make you more productive. And when we talk about productivity, the thing for me with productivity is when I start to achieve some of those smaller goals, I start to feel more self-worth, I start to feel more energy, and the tasks that seem overwhelming start to become more and more manageable.
It's like a dominoes effect, isn't it?
Totally. So I would encourage for students to relax, listen to music, interact with their colleagues, their peers, their classmates. During this time, there's massive gaps in how we would normally learn. So people would go to a classroom, they would speak to their lecturers would share, take part in a lesson with the students. Then all students would go and get a coffee break, tea break, and they would digest that information. We don't really have that process now. There's no the peer-to-peer learning process. So it's really important that you do interact during your Zoom lessons, your breakout rooms. If you've got Facebook pages, use that time to talk about your course and build up your awareness and about what the requirements are of your course as well.
For sure. Thank you so much, Robert. That's been I think the students will find that so helpful. I know personally I find that super, super helpful as well, just to get those practical tips and also to understand that, things are a little bit more difficult and procrastination is normal and that's okay. And it's about kind of finding ways to work around that and finding ways to build up your confidence and your self-esteem, and to not let that inner critic get too loud. So I really, really appreciate your time, and thank you guys for listening. I want you all to know that, as always, our wellbeing service is open, and if you want to book yourself in for a wellbeing assessment, you can simply go on to My City, Bookings, Apps, and click on Wellbeing Assessment. So thank you so much, everyone. I really, really appreciate you listening. See you next time.
Thank you.